whether she actually Donald Trump or not is sort of irrelevant. Doing this because you're out to get a payday. And let's say that's the case. Who fucking cares? Her motivation to do whatever she did doesn't matter. What matters is he made a payment, he recorded it as legal fees, they weren't legal fees, and did it for one of two purposes or both purposes, and one of them would be taxes and the other one is election, to secure his spot in the election.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And who is he? Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And he's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your very own personal board-certified criminal defense lawyer. And today we are talking about the direct and cross-examination of Stormy Daniels. I'm going to give you a little rundown of what that's supposed to look like. But before we get to that, guess who this is brought to you by? eForms.com. eForms.com is a very effective way to avoid the high price cost of having somebody do a form for you like me, because I would just probably go to eForms anyway, and it's ridiculous. So, and it keeps you out of the courtroom, whether you need a bill of sale, whether you need a power of attorney, any legal document that you need, a business agreement, anything you need that's a legal form, quick claim deed, any kind of form that you need, you can get it on eForms.com, and it's cheap. And guess what? You do that ahead of time, you'll stay out of the courtroom, period. Just ask my grandma. She's out of the courtroom and in my basement. I can't get her out of my basement. Did you know that? Anyway, so let's talk about Stormy Daniels. Stormy Daniels has baggage as a witness. She testified today and is testifying today. And there's things that you need to do on direct examination. And there's things that you need to do on cross-examination. Let's just talk real quickly about what each is, what direct and cross means. Direct examination is when you have a witness, you have to ask open-ended questions. What color was the sky? What did you do next? And what was the mood like? What happened next? Those open-ended questions, and the person tells the story. It's a little bit of a problem in this case because the judge has ruled that certain things can't come into evidence. In other words, the salacious details between what happened, between Donald Trump's wee-wee and her hoo-hoo, whatever happened between those two, the real details of what happened are not really relevant, and they can be prejudicial. So, in other words, just tell us generally what happened. Don't get into details. And cross-examination is where you ask questions of the opponent's witness. Then you can lead. That's what they ask, leading questions. And isn't it true that? Isn't it true that you are a scun-sucking and are just here to extract $130,000, whatever. If you ask that question, that would be bad. But you get what I'm saying. On direct examination, the prosecutor has a job to do. And the job is to really get out the whole reason why Trump would want this quashed to begin with. And that's why the story itself is important. And it's important to tell not necessarily the whole story, but a good chunk of it. And what happened today was that she's testifying and probably elaborating, and the defense is objecting to certain questions that might be outside the bounds of what the order that the judge, because the judge set some boundaries up ahead of time. And when they're asking questions and all of a sudden they're outside those bounds, the defense has asked for a mistrial in this case. In other words, you can't unring the bell. So you get all these salacious details, and, Blanche has said, Judge, how can we come back for this? There's no way we can. This is not fair to Donald Trump. We're asking for a mistrial, blah, blah, blah. You watch. I bet you they will try to do an interlocutory appeal. That means an appeal, from the judge's ruling that he didn't get a mistrial to the Court of Appeals. But you don't get that right as a defense lawyer. But it is something that they will make a record for on appeal. Now, Stormy Daniels testified about all kinds of stuff. She testified about an encounter that she had at a golf club with Donald Trump in 2006. That's 10 years. 10 years before he ran for president. Now, she's an adult film actress. According to AP and Washington Post, she's been doing, directing 10 films a year. There's not a shit ton of money in that. I mean, porn stars don't get paid what you think they get paid, unless they're like, one of the big names, I guess. And so she went to this golf course, and the company that she was working for sponsored one of the holes in this golf tournament. And so she's there, and she testified that she was asked to dinner by Donald Trump. She had dinner in his suite, and she was wearing pajamas. Jeez, why would you be wearing pajamas? Here's the problem that I have with this, honestly. 10 years ago, and you're shopping this fucking story around now, honestly, not now, but in 2016, 10 years later, I just think that's shitty. Even, whether it's true or not. I don't think it's cool that Trump is cheating on his wife, but that's kind of his MO anyway. He's never been a guy that's been built on fidelity, and Melania knows that. So there's just no question that he doesn't give a shit about being loyal to his wife, and Melania is under no misgivings that she's dating a choir boy or married to a choir boy. So that, I think, that theme right there undercuts the theory that he's trying to put forward that he wanted to keep this from his wife and not for the election. Okay, so what did she testify to? She testified that they had this sexual encounter, that he was arrogant, that he asked her if she was on the cover of this magazine, he asked her if she saw him on the cover of this magazine. She said no, rolled it up, and spanked him on the ass. Talks about a very unfulfilling sexual encounter. Said she really didn't want to have it, but she was not claiming it wasn't consensual. His bodyguard was right outside the door. She could have said something if she wanted to. She said she just wanted to get out of there. I don't know how much to believe or not believe. But on direct examination, she's telling her story. And she's going a little bit overboard in terms of the details. And so that's when Blanche, Trump's lawyer, has asked for a mistrial. And the judge said, calm down on the details, Miss Daniels, but it's not enough for a mistrial at this point, okay? So, and her story is kind of an important piece of this. It's the whole reason that they paid her, right? But if Michael Cohen, and here's the thing that I just don't understand about Trump's defense. Trump's defense is that, the payments to Michael Cohen were legal fees. Well, what's the problem with that? What's the payment to Stormy Daniels about? Why would Michael Cohen be? There's only one reason. And then he gets reimbursed. And not only does he get reimbursed for the $130,000, he gets reimbursed for the tax implications for that $130,000. So it's not like you just get a normal bill for $35,000 or whatever and say, here's my bill for services. Thank you very much. I'll take the check. And then, like the normal course of things. That didn't happen here. There's no bill. There's no retainer agreement. There's no anything. And I don't know if Michael Cohen was on a specific retainer agreement or if he was in-house counsel or what his arrangement was. But there's no bill for service. And so the defense that these were legal fees really stretches any kind of credulity. And why is that important? That's important because that's half the case right there. The false business records. Recording these as legal fees and then them not really being legal fees. Plus, there's a note from Alan Weisselberg saying that this was reimbursement. What does that tell you? This is not rocket science. This is 1 and 1 is 2, and it's a very simple story, really, when it comes right down to it. So what do you do on cross-examination? They're going to have a female, because they got several females on the team. They're going to have a female cross-examiner. You know that they're going to do that. And that's for stylistic reasons. You don't want to make her more sympathetic by having a man bully a woman. Just structurally, that's how it's going to go. So where do you attack her? You attack her on her credibility, on her motivations. You've said on this information for 10 years. You never came forward to any police, right? And you never came forward to anybody, and you know, you indicated on direct examination that you were having some of the best years of your life, and that you didn't need any money. You also indicated on direct examination that you didn't really want the money, that you just wanted to get this story out, right? But somehow you claim that you were paid $130,000 to keep quiet. But you didn't keep quiet, did you? And blah, blah, blah. You kind of get the tenor of what a cross-examination of Stormy Daniels looked like. So let's kind of go through the day a little bit and go through some of the highlights. So let's just kind of go through some of the highlights as listed by AP. So Stormy Daniels denied she found testifying against Donald Trump funny. So one of the questions was, you just laughed about that. Is it because you think this is all funny, is it? You know, I don't like questions like that because you give the witness kind of some power. Having gone through the negotiating of a non-disclosure agreement with Donald Trump's lawyer Michael Cohen in 2016 and dealt with dueling lawsuits filed by her and Trump against each other, Stormy Daniels agreed to go on his podcast. She did so because I wanted him to apologize to me, Daniels said of Cohen. She testified about the encounter. She testified about the non-disclosure agreement. She testified also about going on Michael Cohen's podcast. You know, I don't know why the fuck Michael Cohen is having this podcast while this is all going on. You know, that's number one, that's fodder for cross-examination. Number two, it's just this bad form, in my opinion. You know, and then it's all these extraneous statements that these witnesses are making. One of the things that the judge was bringing Trump up on today or yesterday was another allegation that he violated the gag order. Now, remember we talked a little bit about yesterday that the judge was very close to putting Trump in jail. He said he didn't want to do it, but the $1,000 is not having a dent in your behavior. And so today there was an allegation that he violated the gag order by talking about Michael Cohen. I believe it was Michael Cohen. But his comments were confined to things that Michael Cohen was saying on his podcast. You know, having a witness testifying, or not testifying, but making public statements daily is problematic for Alvin Bragg. It just is. And while the judge did think that it was close to the line, he said it wasn't beyond a reasonable doubt that he violated the gag order. So the judge did not sanction him. However, if he's sitting there posting during trial about witnesses, about the jury, about anything in the courtroom, the court staff, anything, what's going to happen? He's going to go to jail. And what is the right response here? The right response is not one that the judge wants to do. The judge was extremely measured about whether or not to put Donald Trump in jail. He said, look, you're a past president. I don't want to do this. And so what does he do? Put him in jail over the lunch hour to start with? Or keep him in jail after court's over until all the press is gone? Or does he put him in jail until the court is, the case is over with? It's a tough call for this judge. You know, the Secret Service has been in touch with the jail and with court services to figure out, okay, if he does go to jail, what's going to happen and how is it going to happen? You know, because he doesn't give up his Secret Service protection. He probably would be off-site somewhere in his own place. And then the Secret Service has to be in charge of his food and all that kind of stuff. So, but like I said in our last episode, we're getting close to the end of this trial. We are. We're in I think it's week 4 or week 3. But the last witness is probably going to be Michael Cohen. And he may even be the next witness. But we're getting very close to the end because we've had kind of the foundation of the catch and kill. We've had some of the foundational, this is his signature, this is how he does things. We send things to the White House for his signature. And so all those repayments, that's all been buttoned up. And now we get to the meat of the story. Why is this salacious? Why are we doing this? You know, and so the timing of it and the election is all goes to the second part of this. You know, first we have the falsifying records. That's a misdemeanor under New York state law. But if you do it to cover up a federal or state crime, And the state crime here is taxes because they misidentify them as legal expenses, which they weren't, so they deducted those. And then you also have the election interference. You know, the failure to report this as an in-kind contribution to the campaign, so it wasn't disclosed. So there's two ways to win this case: one by taxes and one by the election fraud case. So I'm anxious to see what the rest of the cross-examination of Stormy Daniels looks like, because the fundamentals are unassailable. Whether she actually fucked Donald Trump or not is sort of irrelevant. She had a story, and they wanted to kill the story, and they paid her off to do it. There's no question that happened, right? I mean, that did happen. Even if she's this money-grubbing who just decided, I'm going to go after Trump because this is my payday. I'm not saying that she is, but I'm saying like that could be somebody's attitude. That would be the defense's attitude, right? You're just doing this because you're out to get a payday. And let's say that's the case. Who fucking cares? Her motivation to do whatever she did doesn't matter. What matters is he made a payment. He recorded it as legal fees. They weren't legal fees, and did it for one of two purposes or both purposes, and one of them would be taxes, and the other one is election, to secure his spot in the election. And that's why Hope Hicks testified. She was his press secretary for the campaign. The defense that he wanted to keep this from Melania, that could be true. Both things could be true at the same time. You could have dual purposes. You not want this out because remember it was the Billy Bush thing that they were just trying to recover from that, and so you've got that in non-disclosure at the time to his wife, but it's 10 years later, so who fucking cares? Honestly, this is a nightmare for lawyers. Honestly, because Trump is such a loose cannon, and remember we had the whole shenanigans about the lawyer saying, oh, he's not doing this, he's not doing that, and the judge saying, you've lost all credibility with me. You don't want a judge to say that. I was in court this morning, and I watched this prosecutor get his ass handed to him by a judge. And so you don't want a judge to get on and then they had to dismiss the case. But the prosecution, which has no case, has gone too far. Mistrial. I mean, why the hell is he doing this? This would piss me off so fucking bad as his lawyer. You're fucking up my shit. I'm having to answer to every one of these stupid comments that you make on social media. The witch hunt is false. Ancient history. That was fully adjudicated by the voters in the 2016 presidential election. Do you know how dumb that is to make that statement? Honestly? That it was adjudicated? In other words, they didn't believe Stormy Daniels back then. I mean, he's tying these together by his statements on Truth Social. It only has to do with election interference and trying to help crooked Joe Biden get elected because he can't do it by himself. It is a vicious attack by the Soros-backed DA, Alvin Bragg, in strict coordination with the DOJ and the White House on Biden's political opponent, me. It's illegal, unconstitutional, and strictly third world country. Give me a fucking break. I mean, let's unpack. Let's just look at his... And I really don't want to give it more attention than it deserves. But the DOJ has got nothing to do with this case. This is a Manhattan. It's Manhattan County, or it's a district attorney of Manhattan District Court. I mean, Superior Court. This has nothing to do with the DOJ. And, Biden has nothing to do with this case. Now, is it political? All prosecutions are political. I mean, the DA is a political animal. The DA is elected. And when they set priorities and what types of cases they're going to go after, like, for example, the U.S. attorney here was appointed, several years ago. And they all of a sudden just started going after these gang cases. And, all of a sudden they plucked 45 guys off the street and did a RICO on all 45. I've got that case right now. But the decision to do that and to go after those types of cases is political. The decision to go after Trump and go after him in this way, sure, it's political. But that's what you get to do when you are in power. You can't go after somebody sheerly because of politics. There's got to be more behind it. You know, they had how many motions to dismiss? You know, they've had a full and fair opportunity to get this dismissed long ago. I don't think it's going to be a very big stretch for the jury to come back and render a guilty verdict in this case. I just don't, because it's all the stuff that's really kind of unassailable. It's documents, you know, and they have tax returns. They have, you know, testimony that's backed up by documents. And so if all you had was Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen and that was it, there'd be no prosecution here. But that's not all you have. In fact, we had 2 accountants for Trump, and both of them still work for Trump. And they had to give truthful answers, and they did. You had Hope Hicks crying during her testimony. You know, she still loves Donald Trump. You know, and guess what happened? You know, she testified and had to testify truthfully. Because guess what happens if you don't testify truthfully? You wind up in Rikers Island with Alan Weisselberg. That's what happens. So, and does it give me great pleasure to see Donald Trump go down the tubes? No, not really. It really doesn't. I mean, he was a former president. I mean, it sucks that we're in this position. But guess what? Trump is in the position because of his mouth and because of what he's been doing. So that's our little reaction to today's testimony with Stormy Daniels. And there's no new news here, honestly. She's told this story 1,000 times, and I don't think she's changed her story at all. And I don't think that Trump's lawyers are really going to lay a glove on her because it's just all about motivation for the cross. I mean, I don't know how else you go after her. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your personal board-certified criminal defense lawyer, with our content genius, Michael Rivers, behind the camera, behind the plan. And again, I want to thank George and Lauren for an incredible experience in Portugal. That was amazing. And hope to see you guys. If you guys are ever in Minneapolis or Chicago, let us know because we'd love to host you for dinner one night. So we'll see you next time here at Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Sign up for Patreon, and your hats are on their way. We'll see you next time. Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. 23-hour lockdown, please, is that my God.